welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. Hope the traffic wasn't too bad today. But I at least promised you guys good weather, so it's not really, maybe a little too hot. But anyway, Laura is our guest today with her new cookbook. We actually hosted Laura a few years ago, so like 4 years ago, with our olive oil cookbook that she did with Mary Gladys. But today, and she actually brought her whole family, because really this is a family cookbook led by Laura. It's called the Camp and Cabin Cookbook, 100 recipes to prepare wherever you go. And we're going to have Laura go ahead and start off here and going to introduce the menu for today. Okay? Take it away, Laura.
But looking forward to you guys sampling all this. You guys went out of their way in the kitchen. They have 10 recipes from my book. Yay! Are you record?
That is a record.
Thank you for featuring all these recipes. I really appreciate it. 2 of them are drinks, because you can still do campfire drink recipes. We've got some roasted strawberry lemonade and orange citrus spiced iced tea. In the book, like I'll discuss later, we have multiple techniques. So I try to show the techniques through some of the recipes that were chosen. We've got the stuffed artichoke mushrooms. Again, you can do it at a Dutch oven, foil, however you want, on the grill. We're doing a twist on the shrimp cocktail by doing a grilled shrimp cocktail with a roasted tomato cocktail sauce. Who doesn't love corn on the cob, especially in the summer? So when I was doing research on the book, there's so many different ways of preparing corn, so I did a little twist of saying it's corn on the cob around the world. And there are multiple toppings that you can do on the corn. And we did 3 of them for you guys here. We got Mexico, Morocco, and Thailand. So some of them are a little on the spicier side. Hopefully you won't mind the spice. And that's all the 3 different corns here. This is a salad I literally make all the time at home, the balsamic vegetable salad that you can make on the kebabs. You can grill them and then toss it together. So it's like you can serve it as a warm salad. You can refrigerate it later and cold, keep it in the cooler and serve it cold. But it's a really great salad. The other reason we're all here is because it's hatch chili season. Woo!
It is.
And to celebrate hatch chili season, we've got the hatch chili chicken verde right here. So grilled tacos and all the other things you can have with that. Another Dutch oven recipe is my chorizo meatloaf that we're using Melissa's chorizo in it. We've got a whole wheat skillet cookie, chocolate chip skillet cookie, which my kids have been eyeing since we walked in here. It does not last long in my house, and it's pretty filling, and it's a huge cookie in the recipe. When you see it in the Dutch oven, it goes so fast, so the family loves that. And we're ending it with the peach and blueberry cobbler. And the cobbler is got a little bit of a tea spice to it, and I hope you like that too.
I approve it.
You did. So again, it's a little bit of everything from everywhere, which is how my family and I eat. So I hope you guys like it too.
Great. Well, thank you, Laura. Everyone, we are honored to have Laura back. We actually hosted Laura about 4 years ago for her olive oil book that she did with Mary. And, as soon as I heard about the cookbook about 5 or 6 months ago, I'm like, I gotta get you on the schedule there. So, because I am a camper, I have a cabin too, but I'm more into glamping. And today was all about glamping because we didn't do the recipes, out in the forest or whatever. And so Laura's going to be going through all the, I have so many of these up at the cabin when we go camping and stuff like that. And she'll go through it on how you use these tools. They're very easy once you get the hang of it. And it's so vital, this thing. If you don't have one of these, your Dutch oven is just not going to work out for you and whatnot. And things like this, like an oil pan, you'll find out about that, and about scrubbing. And I like to actually wash off my pans with my outside in the sprinkler thing and whatnot, and how important it is to keep it seasoned and not to like bring it inside your kitchen and scrub it down and everything like that. You'll find out about that today. The book, the Camp and Cabin Cookbook, let me just tell you a little about Laura. As she has been a recipe developer and a long time foodie friend of mine over the years there. She is the blogger at FamilySpice.com, if you didn't know that. She does great photography and recipes, which she has been featured in quite a few publications like Country Living, The Kitchen, NBC Today Food, and many others. She is here with her family too, because I know this book is really about family and the memories they've had in Scouts and camping over the years there. How this whole project for her came together there. And we're going to hear the whole story from Laura, our guest, and the Camp and Cabin book. And also that serves right now as a great reminder, if you guys can please silence your phones or ducks. And here we have it, Laura.
Thank you. I like the duck intro, so thank you very much. Well, it's great seeing you guys all here. What a great turnout. As I was signing the books, it was so nice to hear we love camping. I'm not a camper. We had the whole gamut. So hopefully I can, if anything, spark an interest in getting outdoors and trying something new, maybe getting a little bit outside of your comfort zone. I think, as you saw with the wonderful meal that the staff here prepared, you can really eat well, even if you're eating in your backyard, at a potluck at the park. We're in Southern California, we can go to the beach, and I know in San Diego we can do fires. If you guys have fires here in Los Angeles on the beach, you can cook on the beach. Wherever you end up going, it doesn't have to be just about camping and cooking. So what I did want to talk about first are some of the equipment. Since we didn't do the demo outside, when you cook and you're outside all the time camping and things like that, this is not something we said, oh, let's go and buy all the equipment at once. This is stuff we've accrued over the years, and there's actually more at home. So we didn't bring it all. Many of you probably use your cast iron pans because it's so versatile. They come in so many shapes and sizes. When I was doing the cookbook, I somehow inherited my husband's co-workers' stuff, and my 3 or 4 pans grew into like a dozen. So we've got pots, you've got big skillets, small skillets, like if it's just the 2 of you camping. You can get grill pans. You can get so many different shapes and sizes of cast iron pans, which is fabulous even in the kitchen, because you can bake in it. It's great for a fire. It's just so versatile. It does weigh a lot. Yeah, it weighs a lot, I can tell you. But that's because it's going to survive. So if you are going out camping and you are going outdoors, and people are like, oh, just take your junky stuff with you. Well, that junky cookware can't withstand some of the heat that you're dealing with on those campfires. So there's a reason why everybody prefers cast iron when it comes to campfire cooking. The other beast that we like to take with us is the Dutch oven. So as I explained in the cookbook, this is not your gorgeous French cookware that you have at home that comes in a rainbow of colors. This is a heavy, solid cast iron pot. Kind of makes you think of like October and Halloween and the witch's cauldron, but there's a reason for it. It is durable. When you're shopping for a Dutch oven, they're not all the same. They don't all have the same features. The main thing that we look for when we're cooking with a Dutch oven are the feet. It needs to have feet. Okay, see those little things, because we slide the coals underneath it. Yes, you can stick this directly onto a hot coal. It will burn your food. The pot can handle it, but your food can't. You want it to be elevated and above the coals. When you're baking especially, and you don't want your cakes to burn, you can make beautiful cakes. Those pictures in my cookbook were all made in the Dutch oven. Just you want this elevated and above the coals so that all the coals can go underneath. So when it comes to the coals, you have different varieties of coals. When we cook with the Dutch oven, especially baking, we're talking about very precise temperatures because you know baking is already a temperamental art in the kitchen. What are we doing? Baking outside. But it's actually not that difficult once you get the hang of it. We like to use the briquettes. These are what we call the briquettes. These are the little squares of classic American barbecue. It has a purpose though with campfire cooking because it helps. When with the recipes that I have in the book and I'm cooking in the Dutch ovens, I tell you how many briquettes you're going to put on top and how many briquettes you're going to put underneath. And I think, especially for baking, nothing beats the precision of these briquettes. So the other thing you can do with the Dutch oven, when you're cooking, is here you've got the coals underneath, you have the coals on top. You can stack your Dutch ovens and cook them on top of each other. So I don't know if you've seen the pictures online where some towers get pretty high up because space is limited. You only have one campfire and you've got so many people to feed, so you start stacking your Dutch ovens on top. So that's another great aspect about the feet. The feet elevates it, air circulates, coals are being positioned right underneath, and it's cooking both things at the same time.
What do you prefer? Like if you're going camping and you're going to cook something in your Dutch oven or in your pan, do you prefer a wood fire and then grate, or do you prefer the coal?
Again, it matters what I'm cooking.
If
If there's no baking, I prefer the campfire because you can get it a lot hotter and do a lot more things with it. And I usually use multiple techniques too. So if I have a campfire, I've got some heavy-duty aluminum foil, which is another part of the equipment we're talking about when you're outdoor cooking. You don't want your regular aluminum foil, and you're using that heavy-duty aluminum foil. You can wrap apples, you can wrap bananas, you can wrap, you can stick your potatoes in the ash. You can stick your acorn squash, and when your campfire is died off and you've got a nice hot ash building up, and you can talk about ash cooking, you can stick your onions, garlic, and squash and stick that in the ash and let the ash cook it. So there's so many different ways of cooking it. And for those that don't want foil touching their food because they're afraid of the, possible Alzheimer's, you wrap your food in parchment paper and wrap that in the foil so the food never touches the foil. But you do need the foil for the protection of the fire. But I just make the modification of wrapping it in parchment paper. I do a French toast that's wrapped in foil, and again, I mentioned that. You can always put it in just this big sheet of parchment paper right over your foil, wrap it all up together, it works beautifully. And it doesn't.
Are there dishes that you used to make at home, and then you made them in camping, like in a Dutch oven or cast iron, and it was better, and so you decided at home to change the way you make it?
I think a lot of the grilling recipes are definitely like that. I know for sure which wasn't in the cookbook, when my husband started making barbecuing outside, even things like pulled pork and brisket and things like that, once you had it outside over a grill, you never went back to, unfortunately, the slow cooker again. But there's some of definitely the ramen broth that I have for the cookbook was something that my son Hamon always requests when I tell him I'm making homemade ramen, and he's like, make sure that's the broth I like, right, Mom? So definitely, but I say for most of it, it's almost anything that has that smoky element that we really fell in love with, then we have to go back outside, yeah.
Are there any more questions? Okay, well, let's continue on. And thank you, Laura.